So now that we have our stick figure, we're ready to start the walk cycle. So I've actually attached a image to this assignment of the walk cycle. And what I would like you to do is download that image to your computer from Google Classroom. And after you've downloaded that image to your computer from Google Classroom, we're actually going to add it to this animation. So I'm going to go up over here to the top right, and I'm going to click on Library. And right now you'll see all the pieces of our stick figure in the library. And what I want to do is I want to add that image of the walk cycle. So I'm going to go up over here to File. I'm going to go to Import to Library. And I'm going to find that walk cycle drawing. And what it should do is it should bring it into our library. There it is, okay? And if I click on it once, you can see here's the walk cycle. And this is what we're going to try and do today. So before we do anything else, what I want to do is I want to create a layer to put this walk cycle image on. So I'm going to add a layer. And right now, let me move this up a little bit. That's called layer 2. And I'm going to rename it. So if you double click on it, you can rename it. And I'm just going to name it reference because it's my reference layer for the walk cycle. And I'm actually going to drag it below layer 1. So it's the furthest back layer. And I'm going to rename layer 1 to stick figure. So you can't have spaces in the name of a layer. So I put an underscore, stick underscore figure. And I just renamed that layer. It's a good idea to get in the habit of naming your layers. If you don't, you can get very confused very easily. And this way, if I hide the background layer, I can bring it in or remove it depending on what I need to do. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and move my stick figure. Let's move him over here. All right, and I want to make sure I am clicked on frame 1 of my reference layer. And I'm going to drag the walk cycle onto my stage. And I want to make it the same size as my stick figure. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the free transform tool, and I'm going to make it bigger. Oops. Because I want him to be about the same size as, okay? And I'm actually going to move it over this way a little bit. So you'll actually see, if you look at this, the image here, you'll actually see there's only 4 different positions. There's contact, that is when the back foot is on the ground and the front foot has reached forward and the heel is on the ground. There's recoil, that's when the front foot is now fully on the ground and you've now lifted your back foot up. There's passing, that's when one leg is passing the other leg. And then there's high point, that's when you've lifted that foot all the way up, because then you come back to contact where you put that foot down again. You can see it just repeats. Contact, recoil, passing, high point, and it does it again. Same exact position, contact, recoil, passing, high point. So the first thing we want to do is we want to put our guy in the position of contact. So really all you need to do, and you want to be clicked on the free transform tool, is you just want to sort of copy exactly how the figure is in the first image here. And you can see I'm sort of copying his back arm. And if you need to, you can put it right underneath it and copy it that way, if that actually makes it a little easier. I'm going to copy his front arm. I prefer it to be a little bit off to the side, but whatever is easier for you. And then I'm going to copy his, oops, let's make sure this is in the exact same spot. I'm going to copy his back leg. This is where those pivot points come really important, because with the pivot point, you can see now that I can grab or pivot a piece of his foot or whatever, and what it does is it allows me to pivot it on that point. And I want to actually make this, I actually think I want this to be a little further forward. And it looks like his leg, if you look at it, is sort of very straight here. So I'm going to go ahead and make his leg straight. And I'm going to pivot his foot up. Oops, I have actually have put his knee backwards. If you look, this leg, this part comes down and then this part comes this way. I've actually bent his knee the wrong way. So let's fix that. So this part comes down and then this part comes this way. And then the foot comes on. There we go. So now my figure is in contact position. Okay? Can you see that? How it's... Okay, so now I have my figure in the contact position, and I'm going to go ahead and add a keyframe. It's just a picture of what he's doing right now. If you hold your mouse, if you long click on this button right here, it gives you some different options. I just want it to be a keyframe, so I'm just going to hit the button, and what it did is it just added a frame. So the next one I want to do is I want to do recoil. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit my figure so he has the next step. And recoil, it's important to notice his front leg is now fully on the ground. So instead of reaching forward with just the heel down, the leg is fully on the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to make some changes here. Now it's important to have taken the picture so that the next one, there we go. And now you'll notice his back leg isn't stretched out anymore. His back leg, his thigh is straight down now. So I'm going to move his thigh. But his shin is almost parallel to the ground. And his foot. And his arms don't look much different in this picture, so I'm just going to leave them. And now we have the recoil position. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the keyframe. So the next position we want to do is passing, okay? And this one actually has the arms moving pretty much. You can't actually even see the front arm at all. So I'm gonna sort of move it so it is, there we go. And the back arm, same thing, it's much closer. And it crosses over just a little bit, and now his back leg is actually sort of straight. So we're going to move his back leg so that it is almost straight. And his front leg, the knee is going to come up and it's going to look like it's passing the back leg. So now we have passing, and I'm going to hit a frame. Okay, and then the last one we want to do is high point, and this is sort of the point where the whole figure is reaching up because his leg is now coming forward to put out onto the ground again. So I actually want this leg, part of the leg, to be much higher than this. There we go. And then this part, we want it to be going back a little bit. And I'm going to move his arm so it looks like he's sort of striding. And there we have high point. And I'm going to hit the, all right. So what it should look like, and let's hope this works, is it should look like he's actually walking. So I'm actually going to use the period and comma key on the keyboard because that sort of allows us to scroll through and you can see. So here's contact, recoil, passing, high point, and then it would go back to contact again. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy those 4 frames. I'm just highlighting the frames and I'm going to copy frames and I'm going to go here and I'm going to paste those 4 frames. So now let's see if this works. So I'm going to go through, let me clear it so I don't have the, okay. Let me hide the background. Looks like I have an extra one that is exactly the same, so I actually want to get rid of that one. So you can see I have 2 that are the same right here, so I'm going to remove this one. I just right click on it, say remove frame. Okay, let's try that again. So I'm hitting my period and all right, so I'm just going to copy those and paste them. Now let's see from the beginning what it looks like. Okay, and you can actually test it by going up here to the top. There's a play button up here where you can test it and it will show. Now I'm going to actually get rid of that because I don't, but it looks like he's walking. He's kind of walking pretty fast. I actually want to slow him down a little bit. So I'm going to go back down here and I'm going to add some frames in. Let me go ahead and I can remove my reference layer now because I don't need it anymore. So I'm just going to right click on it and say delete layer. And to make him go a little slower, it's 12 frames per second, so I don't really want to make the actual animation much slower, but you can add extra blank keyframes in between. But before I do that, what I want to do is actually make him look like he's moving, because right now he's just walking in place. So let's go ahead and add a layer. And this layer I'm going to call ground, because I'm going to draw the ground. I'm just going to grab a line. I think I'm going to make it gray, so it looks like the sidewalk. Let's make it, there we go. I'm just going to draw a straight line. And I'm going to convert it to a symbol so it doesn't, let's call it the ground. Oops, I don't think I called it the ground. I think I just called it symbol, but that's okay. All right, so actually you can see what it did is it left the ground on my entire animation, which is fine. So now what I'll do is I'm going to move him, so the stick figure is on the top, and I'm going to go to each frame and I'm going to move him down so that he's actually walking on the ground. Oops, let's do frame 1 first. Okay, so if I go from frame 1 to frame 2, you can see he's actually, so it would look like he should move a little bit forward. So in this one, I'm going to take the whole guy and I'm going to move him just a bit. Oops, I missed his foot. Let's go ahead and lock, oops, not that. Let's lock the background so I don't accidentally, there we go. And now I can move him just a little bit forward. So now it looks a little more realistic because he's sort of moving forward when he goes. So the next one, I want to do the same thing. I want to grab him and I want to move him where he would be So you can see he actually slides back a little bit on that one. So I'm going to move him forward. One, there we go. Slide still a little bit so I can move him a little bit more forward. So one of the things you can do right now is you could turn on onion skinning. What onion skinning does is it allows you to see the frames before. So you can see it's actually giving sort of a little highlight of what this won't show in your animation. It's just to see what your last step was. Okay, so it may be confusing. You may like it. It's up to you. I'm actually going to turn it off because I find it a little bit confusing when I'm doing something like this. So we've got step 1, 2, 3. And then for the fourth one, you can see I've got it way too far back, so I need to bring it forward. And let's see how that looks. That actually looks really good. And then what I want to do is so what I'm just doing is you don't have to retake the picture if you're moving something on a frame you've already done. And that looks pretty good. So what you want to do is just step by step, make sure that your figure looks like he's walking along. And I'm just using, like I said, the period and the comma key to sort of scroll through. And see how his foot looks like it slides back a little bit there? Oops, it's not this one. So on this one, I want to move him just a little more forward. So I get rid of that slide. So the foot, when he plants his foot, it should stay planted. See how that works? And let's go 1. There we go. So the next one. And all I'm doing is making him walk across the stage. So you can see that actually is too big of a jump because his foot wouldn't move that much. So I want to actually move him back a little bit. There we go. And then the next one. So all I'm doing is using the period and comma key to put each figure in the right position. And what it allows me to do is to scroll back and forth between them to make sure he looks right. See, that's too far because it should just be a little pivot down to his foot. That's better. See how he just sort of pivots forward on his foot, but I do want to move him up a little bit so he's on the ground and not. Okay, so I need to move this one. See how his foot slides back a little bit there? That means he needs to move a little bit forward. If you end up with these outlines, all you have to do is click on the stage and the outlines will go away when you... Okay, so I need to do a little... We're almost there. So all I'm doing is using my period and my comma key, looks like too big of a jump, to scroll through and make sure it looks right the way he's walking. Okay. You really want to be careful. It doesn't look like his foot is sliding along the ground. Okay, I think that's the last frame that I need to... Yep. See, that's bad because he's jumping. He shouldn't be jumping. His foot. There we go. And what I can do is test it by clicking this. I'm going to save actually real quick here because I don't think I've saved this yet. I'm going to click the test button and see what it looks like. There he goes. You can keep copy pasting the frames, the 4 frames, and just keep adding them on to make him walk all the way across the stage.